What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Activate Your Awesome. And you may be like, wait a minute, your name keeps changing. Yes, it does, because I am one. I've had old podcasts and live streams before, but I'm all about just starting a project and seeing where it goes. And I think Activate Your Awesome is where it's going to end. It's going to become the name of the live stream of the podcast and everything. But I had to play a little bit, had to test a little bit. But I'm excited tonight to bring you a little bit different than probably my normal conversations, but that he's known as Mr. New Dad. And it's a conversation with my friend John about being a new dad and helping other new dads and just being there because we get a lot of podcasts, live streams about professional things, business development and things like that. But he's focusing on life development and really personal development, helping people do that kind of thing. So I'm going to introduce you. I'm super excited. Let's see, John, what's going on?
Hey Matt, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. As before we get started, you saw the little video countdown timer that goes.
I love it.
One of my favorite things is watching because in the tool I use StreamYard, I can see everybody even though you can't see them on the screen. Watching everyone dance to that music, I think it's hilarious.
It's great. I love it.
It kind of gets everybody up and excited, ready to go.
hmm
So, so before we get into Mr. New Dad, John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. A little bit about me. I got 22 years in the Coast Guard. I say the Coast Guard because I've been in both the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Reserve. But I've been in for 22 years, 16 enlisted, made chief, couldn't make 8, so I got my commission. And back in 2016, so I'm now a lieutenant in the Coast Guard Reserve, and it's been a great career. And I've kind of skipped. I've had a great career, but I've been on active duty. I've been in the reserves. I've worked for the federal government as a GSer, working for citizenship and immigration as a human capital consultant, doing doing executive coaching and training and consulting in the DC area. Had a lot of fun doing that. Work nonprofit. I'm on a couple boards. And so, yeah, I've had a pretty great career so far.
That's fantastic. And I love I mean, yeah, you've been in the Coast Guard a while, but you've really branched out into different things. You're kind of staying in the same realm, kind of like a grapevine. You kind of keep going the same direction, but you're peeling off in different directions, and
Mm.
having all these fun little projects.
You know, what started it was probably, I remember the Coast Guard has this course called Leader Facilitator course. And it's basically what you have done. But almost kind of an intro to Agile, a little bit of Scrum, but it's learning how to lead meetings. And it was around that time where I think I was like 26, 27 years old, and I was searching for someone to kind of like emulate, someone to follow. I was like, where are all the good leaders at? Like, I want to be, I'm 26. When I'm 36, this is kind of like an idea of what I want to be and where I want to be. And I guess I couldn't really find anybody. And so I started studying my tail off picking up books, um, learning about personal growth and development. And it kind of led me to where I am today.
That's fantastic. I love the story of how you just started, change, add a little bit here, a little bit there,
Right.
and you're just kind of becoming whatever you're supposed to become.
Right.
I love that part of your journey as we've talked before. Before we get into Mr. New Dad, anyone that's live, welcome. Thanks for joining. Lucas Marino's throwing us some love. He's saying, "Go learn stuff." Michael, that sounds like a quote.
Ooh, I
Um,
like that.
so he's all about learning stuff. We had a great conversation about learning last week with him. But if you're out there, let us know you're there. Tell us where you're watching from. If you're a parent, maybe you got a question, maybe you got some advice. I don't know. This is just a fun conversation, learning about what John's been up to with this new community that he's building. And I'm going to have him tell you more about it because I'll slaughter it. So,
Mm.
John, tell us about Mr. New Dad.
So before I take a deep dive into this, I have this one disclaimer, is that I am a brand new dad, and so I don't want to come across as an expert in the parent realm because I am not. I have a 9-month-old, and I'm still learning myself. But with that all being said, I like to put that out there. But what I've noticed since I've become a dad, and in my own professional growth as an executive coach, as a speaker trainer, oftentimes when I work with a lot of my clients, this issue of family always tends to come up. This issue of boundaries, this issue of like, hey, you know, for example, one of my clients, my first client, his whole goal in hiring me was to make his son's lacrosse games on Thursdays.
Wow.
He was a very senior executive for a company up in DC, but that was his goal. And so even though he's like, I have to be a better dad. And so even though we were working business, he's like, I have this, and if I don't improve this, I'm not going to have a relationship with my son. So anyway, what I've noticed since I became a dad in all of this is that um, as men, we need help. It's nice to have a community of people or a coach or someone that you can work with because there is so much in this space. When you think about parents, when you think about having a baby, what I've noticed is the emphasis is a lot of times on mom, and rightfully so. But if we look at statistics and we know the value of an engaged and present dad in a child's life, it's by far so impactful on that child's development in their future when they become adult versus in a disengaged or an unpresent dad. It's the statistics are anywhere from prison, anywhere from child pregnancy, early pregnancy, drug use, suicide rates, everything. Statistics show that person had an unengaged or a father who was not present. And so, as I was about me and my wife, we were preparing for our son's birth. I was just like reading anything and everything I could get my hands on, and I started to realize that this was something that I found that a lot of men struggle with is how to be a dad. How to be a great dad, how to be a great husband, how to be a great leader in their home. And they want to be, but they just don't know how to be. Or they have an idea of the type of dad they want to be based off their experience or their dad, which may be good or bad. And they're bringing all of that into their own parenthood. And so sometimes what I'm learning is that a lot of men need that somebody or need that group to like, hey, how'd you get through this? Or, I have my everything that I'm learning as a dad, as a husband, as a community leader, as a family provider. I have so many things and I just don't know how to do it. So if you had that community of other dads that you could learn off of, that is what kind of sparked this idea. So what started all this actually was back in September. And I think it was you that kind of like gave me the idea of going live for 100 days.
Ah.
And I liked that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I did it for like 7 days. And I was just approaching it from the aspect of like, I'm going to go live each and every day and talk about like what I'm learning in this season of life and frame it from a leadership perspective. And so I did like 7 or 8 days. And then I had a conversation with my coach that I meet with regularly. And he was like, hey, I like what you're doing, but have you thought about approaching this from the aspect of being a dad? He was like, let's try this out for 30 days for the month of October. I have this idea of targeting all your talks towards new dads. I was like, I'll try it. It's an idea. I'll experiment with it. So I did it, and I did it for 31 days, and I ended up going October, November, and December because what I found out is that there are a lot of dads out there who are either struggling, they want this, they need this, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I wish I had something like this in my life. And it's talking, it's thinking about things differently, it's learning how to like live life and bring your best self, or even realizing that, your first year of dadhood, you're not going to be your best self because you're sleep deprived, you have stress, you have hormones, you have family responsibilities, and your kid is crying, and you're trying to serve mom, and so you have all these responsibilities. So it's a lot. So that's what I'm up to right now, and I'm very excited. Very excited. So kind of what that led to, that 31 days led to going live each and every night for the rest of the year, talking towards new dads. And so I think it was like mid-November, I met with my coach again. He was like, I think you're onto something here, and I want to be a part of it. And he said, let's start creating a coaching group for new dads, and create a community for dads by dads. And I'm like, I can do that. So that's where I am today. Is I've launched this whole new coaching group community, and I'm building the community as I go. And man, I'll tell you, it's a lot of fun because you are talking to men and dads all over the country and in many different industries, and we're all dealing with the same thing.
That's so that's incredible. And I love your journey of story of how you just you started one thing and you're like, I'm gonna pivot, I'm gonna try this. And you try to challenge. You challenged yourself.
Oh yeah.
Or your coach helps challenge you, which is a great thing to have a coach if you guys don't out there in the world. Even John himself, you're a coach and you have a coach. That's
Oh
how it
yeah,
works.
yeah. I know myself well enough that I get in my own way a lot. I
And
need
that's
that monthly accountability.
definitely, and that's the value of having a coach.
Right.
But then you got this challenge and you did it, and then you kept going, and then you kept going another month. So you're 3 months in, and now you're building into this entire community because of what you're finding.
Yeah.
Like you just said, all these different industries, businesses, and you'll have the same problems, questions, want to learn the same things. And I love that you're building this community. Um, So, what are the requirements? Because I know you have this new community, and there's some requirements for new dads to join. Because I saw your post the other day. How
Oh
can
yeah.
people join this community?
Well, one, right now, I'm using all my social media platforms to kind of build the awareness and build the community. I'm on Telegram on Mr. New Dad. I have a Facebook group, and I'm building that. And so there's no website yet because I'm just kind of building as I go. But that's where I'm using the community, and then I'm going to be building my email list. So if people want to be a part of it, I mean, connect with me because the way that I have this community set up right now is it's kind of twofold. One, there's going to be kind of like the mentorship group, the mentor community, and then there's going to be like the intentional, like you take a deep dive 8 weeks into an actual coaching group where you and 10 other guys are going through the same material, but then I'm facilitating that through the whole stretch. What are the requirements? One of the things that I have learned, and you can appreciate this, and I'm sure you've come across this, is that many times that you may meet somebody and they seem very interested, but they're not there yet. So you have to be coachable, but you really have to be ready. You have to be ready because what I ask anytime you work with any of my clients is that you have to be ready. You have to know your goal. You have to want it because I'm not your babysitter. I'm not going to hold your hand. I will be empathetic and I will challenge you, but at the same time, you have to be ready to be able to say, you know what I'm doing, and this is exactly the conversation that I had with my coach. I met with him in October and I said, Bob, what I'm doing, it's not working. I want to be able to, I'm really trying to grow my audience, really trying to grow my business. And the way I'm going about it right now, I'm not happy. I know I can do better. And so I had to be that vulnerable and that like humble person to say, I'm ready to be challenged. And so if you're ready to be challenged, that's the bare minimum, the one thing that you have to be ready to do.
I love it.
So, yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. And we're going to say hi to a couple people who've joined us. Lucas, I don't know if you know Lucas or not, or Luke. He's a fellow coastie. Now got his own business, doing a lot of things. Have you met him?
No, but now that I see his picture, I think him and I at somewhere in my career, we crossed paths. Were you at the dog, Luke? I think you may have been at the dog with me. Maybe.
He may have been. It's a small world,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
your world.
Yeah.
Coast Guard's not that big. And then a couple hellos. Hey, Ahmed, what's going on? Saying hi to John, hi to Matt. Thanks for joining. Anyone else that's joining out there? If you want, tell us where you're watching from. Any comments, complaints, questions, whatever you want, throw them at us.
Here's a
So,
question that I would pose to any of the dads in the group. Yeah.
yeah.
Luke retired in 2018. I knew you looked familiar. Um, of the dads that are kind of catching this, what would you say the biggest challenge you have as a dad or as a new dad? What would it be? And so I'll wait for the comments to kind of start coming through.
Okay, that's a great question. So please throw those in there. Those of you that are watching live with us anyway, if you're hearing this later, you don't get to put your question. You got to start coming watching the live show. And also Luke says he was naval engineer E1 to 04 type.
All right.
So chances are probably pretty good that you probably
Maybe.
cross paths at some
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's a small world in the military. And so what I'm going to throw that question back to you while we wait for others to throw out. What is one of the biggest challenges that you've had as a new dad? I myself am not a dad, and so this is a learning opportunity for me as well.
I think probably the biggest challenge that I have found myself in, even I know all this stuff about personal growth and accountability and whatnot, is really having this mindset of I can do this on my own. I'm just going to figure it out as I go. And I so many times it's like, oh, I can figure that out. And then I'll talk to my friends. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. So I think having that limiting belief of like, I'm just going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to do this on my own, and that I can do it on my own. No, they say that, to raise a child, you need a community of people. And, I'm here in Virginia Beach, and me and my wife, we don't have family around here. And so I really depend on like my guy community, especially, those of you who are dads. It's like, I need that, whether it's to vent, for help, for questions, for coaching, whatever it may be. So I think that's one thing that I have found is that. I would say probably number two is I'll put this out there. I like some of these comments that are coming in but in that first year, just like really being aware that your life just made a big change, and that I think as a husband, you have to be like so much aware of your wife and like show her empathy because she just had a baby. Her hormones are all over the place. And so being aware of that and like not setting, just learning how to lead her, learning how to lead yourself in that first year is a challenge.
That's fantastic. That sounds like great advice. And I think it's really important for your spouse. I'm sure they like it when you're helping them out. And that leads to Luke's question. Actually, before Luke's question, it's really funny. As you do this, I interview a lot of people, and it's different interviewing someone else that interviews. Because like with you, I almost don't even have to be here, and I can just like light a match, and then you just keep going, and then you build, and it's not a bad thing. It's just it's a difference when you're like used to like pulling questions out with you. I can just like say purple, and you start going on this path. It's fantastic.
It's awesome.
I love it. So Luke's throwing here. You asked your question was what is one of the biggest challenges, and he says helping mom get some downtime and rotating the night feeding.
Oh yeah. That's real. You don't realize just how important rest is for both of you. Downtime is big. Yeah. So many times I'll be like, oh, I'll take Evan. That's our son's name. It's like, oh, we'll take him, or I just need a break for an hour so I can go for a jog or whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. And so we got another one from Ahmed here. Again, your question was, what's the biggest challenge you have? And his is, the challenge is when you want to listen to your child, but your spouse says that I'm spoiling the child.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's true. Yeah.
And Ahmed also agrees with John saying one should take care of her wife when she is recovering and learning how to adjust to the change.
Yeah.
That goes to what you were saying.
And that's big. I think that it's, one of the things, like my wife, she's learning how to live her life and be a mom and all these changes. She's active duty Navy, so she has those responsibilities. Um, so there's a lot of on our plate as well, and so I think it's so important that you know how to communicate and lead. And even one of the great things that we started probably 4 or 5 years ago is we started sharing each other's calendar with each other. So anytime I make an appointment, I immediately look down. It's like, all right, what's on the calendar this week? You know, so that's a tip that I would give away: is share your calendar with your spouse.
Yeah, I'd say that's a life tip anyway. At least for me
Hmm.
and my wife. Like if we had separate we have joint calendars and we still don't know where each other is,
Yeah,
whether it's on calls or on different things. And we run a business together, and so
yeah.
we have like 5 calendars
Oh
together.
man.
So I'd say that's good, sound advice for any relationship, whether it's spousal
Hmm.
or even like roommates. I think joint calendars are extremely valuable,
For sure.
and even more so with the spouse and with the mom that's trying to take care of their kid and do her Navy job. So what is your goal with this? Is there a win for this Mr. New Dad community? This thing you're building. I know you're building some coaching programs and things you'll probably continue as you go. Is there like a point? Maybe not a win, but is there a point like, okay, we're good. I don't need to do it anymore. Or is this going to be a continuous thing that you kind of becomes
You
part of your
know,
life?
I see this honestly. I see this blowing up. I see this being a lot bigger than uh, I could even imagine 3 years ago, because there's such a need for this in just the 3 months that I've been focusing on this. So many dads are saying, "Oh my gosh, I need that," or I need someone that I can help me get clear on the type of dad that I want to be," or I don't understand the generational baggage that I brought into my dadhood, or how to get rid of this crap, or how to get rid of these limiting beliefs that I hold on about fatherhood or parenthood. And so I see it being a lot bigger than what it is right now, and it's just beginning. So
As you built this new thing, you said, like, were you surprised at how many people like have gravitated to this already?
I was, and in the beginning, I think it was because I thought, oh, there's so many coaching programs out there. There's so many speakers and trainers and programs out there that's covered. But the more and more that I studied it and researched it, I realized that this emphasis, that nobody is focusing on this. There's one or two groups out there, but I mean they're not big, but they're making a dent. But nobody is focusing on dads, on husbands, on how to be that on that male role. And so from coaching to mentoring to having that group community, I see this being pretty big. And even from a coaching, I'm connected to a lot of coaches and a lot of dads, and I haven't even thought like what this will look like in 5 years. But I'd like to see like other dads kind of being my facilitators, and creating content and helping men kind of go through the challenges that a lot of men seem to struggle with.
That's fantastic. I really love the beginning part of um, you just kind of want to see where it goes, and you
Yeah,
just start, and you just started. It's something you see a need, and you're going for it. Is it going
yeah,
to work? Who knows? But you're going for it. You're right now. You're helping people. One, it sounds like you're helping yourself, and you enjoy
yeah,
it. And if
yeah,
you're not doing that, then you shouldn't do it at all. But the fact that you're helping others find this thing and come together is just super powerful, especially in the world where you said coaching's popular. There is lots of business coaching and different things, and especially in the platforms you're using, LinkedIn and other social media programs, really focused on like the business life and
right.
career life. And then here you are coming in like, oh, let's build a dad community,
Yeah,
um, and
yeah.
it's fantastic.
Hmm. It really is. And I think this is something that even businesses are going to catch on to because um, think of it like this. When I became a dad, I know, like I said before, that my first year, it's going to be hard. I'm not going to be my best self. And just because when I go to work doesn't mean that I take my dad responsibilities off. And I'm hopeful, and I'm assuming here, but I think it's a safe assumption, is that businesses, at least businesses who care about their talent, care about their employees, are looking for ways to help their dads, are looking for ways to help their community. And if this could be a one way to say, hey, we have this course, we have this program that we can push out to you to help you translate or transfer or learn how to be dad and employee, it's something that's going to, I think it's going to, like I said, I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
I can't wait to see what you influence
Yeah.
on making that happen. I think a lot of that comes from, I think that's this big shift of the pandemic itself of COVID was a bad thing. But some of the results that are coming out of it are companies and people realizing, oh, maybe I should spend more time with my family. I actually like my family because they are getting more time at home. And
Right.
I hope, like you said, companies, and I know some companies already are starting to see the value of like, hey, we're getting better performance from our people because they're happier, because their family lives are taken care of. And that kind of leads into one thing here from Paul. I believe Paul was answering your question from earlier of a challenge. And he said it was realizing that mom's focus is not you, but the new love of her life, and dad may become second fiddle.
I appreciate Paul. Paul and I used to work together at USCIS, and
Okay.
he was. That's so true. That's some wise wisdom right there.
Definitely. We got another one here from Anthony saying, I wish I would have had something like this when I was a new dad. I would have focused more on my wife than then and given a little less to work. So you got people already that are
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't know Anthony, you and him need to connect because he's another good dude for you to know.
okay. And
Yeah.
that's my favorite thing about doing these interviews and live stuff. I was like, hey, have you met? Hey, do you know? Like we did it before. I said, hey, do you know Gabe? And you're like, no. I was like, I got to introduce you to Gabe, get you involved with what they're doing.
Right.
And
Right.
it's fantastic. Anthony also adds that you're onto something good. We all didn't have great role models. So you're definitely getting support from those, I'll call them older dads, since you're the new dad.
Hmm.
Um, that's fantastic. Another one from Ahmed here says nowadays we are excuse me, nowadays we are more talking about work-life balance. Earlier days there was a work and only work. So that goes to what you were saying. And I
Mm.
mean all preference on career and job. Nowadays younger generations they shift the job of as more demanding and talking about their family life, which is agreed. His point is a much better option, and I think is what you're really trying to get after.
Right. And if you really think about that, when you have somebody that is happy, content, positive at home, and they have that covered, and you get to work with them, that they bring such a better result to the workplace because they're not stressed. And even if they are, they know that their company will help them out. Versus the guy who is just like, oh my gosh, I got to get to work. I have all this stuff going on. I'm stressed out. I'm my wife hates me. We got in this huge fight, and you bring all that into work. And what we're talking about is that man not knowing how to control the situation or not knowing how to have a vision for his life, his marriage, or learning these tools that you and I both know how to use in a business sense, but use it for our personal lives. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just fantastic, and I'm excited to see where this goes for you and this journey of this new, not only your experience as a new dad, but these communities you're building.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to really hit on a point that you kind of hit earlier that maybe sneaked by people was you had this thing and you had this idea and you almost didn't do it. It sounds like, or not almost didn't do it. You kind of thought like, oh, maybe I shouldn't because there's lots of coaching programs, there's lots of
Right.
things. And
Right.
I want to pull that back just a little bit. In anything that you're doing out there, there's a lot of everything. Don't
There is.
let the fact that it already exists stop you from going after something and creating something. Because what you think, a couple things there. The assumption is that that thing that already exists works.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the only thing that works. So that's
Right.
why it's the only one. Or it's also from in your community you're building, there's going to be dads that don't relate to you, and so I hope there's another new dad out there doing something similar that hopefully they relate to,
Right.
because we can have multiple things that are different. If we stopped as a human race of just having one thing all the time, we would have one kind of car, we'd have one kind of phone, we'd
Right.
eat one kind of food. It's people are different. Go after, just because it exists, don't let it stop you from going after it, just like John's doing here.
That is, I have found myself making that assumption so many times, or getting caught in that trap of, oh, that's already together, or their program is doing great because they're always online, or they seem to be doing oh well. And that's, like you said, that is such an assumption, especially that you don't know is true. I mean, but the thing is, what I've realized is that there are hundreds of millions of people out there that need to hear your story, that need to hear your idea. And you just need that little bit of courage. You need those 20 seconds of courage just to go out and say, you know what? I'm going to try this for 30 days and just do it. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, I did it for 30 days, and look what it's led into in the last 100 days. Is that
Yeah,
you never know how, you never know what is on the other side of that fear if you continue to live behind it, you know?
definitely. And then you get to meet great people like Joe Ingram, who's like a party dad, apparently,
Hey, hey,
according to
party
this
dads.
comment here. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Joe's a good guy. Another one from Ahmed here. I think the work you are planning, John, is great, but the coaching should start pre-birth. Ooh, there you go. So both the partners know their responsibilities and give the space to the other partner.
I have thought about that. I've even looked at the focus of Mr. New Dad from like 0 to 3, but and to his point, I think he's right. It's You should almost uh, be thinking about these things not a month before your child is born, but hey, you got 9 months to start thinking about these things. You got some If you have some changes to make, or if you want to start having a conversation about, hey, what kind of son or daughter do we want to raise? What kind of adult do we want to raise? And are we living those things? And so that's like what he's talking about, is taking a look at yourself and saying, you got this.
Now you got Mr. New
Oh,
Dad
that's
coaching
funny.
on the conception
That's
right there.
funny. That's funny.
Nice one, Joe.
That's
There you
good.
go.
But yeah, it is something that it's something that I think could certainly look into. But if you are that dad, or if you are that husband, and you and your wife are in the planning stages of having a family or starting a family, or you're just found out today that you guys are pregnant, my encouragement to you is read everything you can and talk to your wife about it, because that little baby's going to be here before you know it. And once it's here, the time you did have uh, isn't going to be there. And so these are things that I think you should be thinking about yourself before the baby even comes. And he's right, because it's hard to find that free time once you have a newborn.
Definitely, definitely. Well, John, I'm loving our conversation. But before we go, is there anything else you want to share? And for anyone out there, I'm not like promoting John's services. He's not just trying to make money. He wants to get out there and help new dads. And there's a lot of different ways they're doing that with the Mr. New Dad podcast. Where's that happening? You're doing that on, where's that at?
So right now, for the last 100 days, I was doing it on all of my social media platforms, from LinkedIn to Facebook to YouTube. So it's on YouTube right now under Mr. New Dad. I am right at the point now where I'm trying to figure out how to take those 100 episodes and turn them into a podcast, because it's not something that's been created yet. But stand by for that. But right now, you can find me on all social media platforms. Hey, Gabe, thanks for being here.
There you go.
But like I said, you can find me on all social media platforms. I'm under, John Wayne Mullins on LinkedIn. If you're on Telegram, you can find me there under Mr. New Dad, and the same thing on YouTube. So, yeah.
It's fantastic. Is this something you did all your 100 days of live with this, but is this going continuously where you're building more and more podcasts and live shows and
So
things?
I'm building more shows right now. I'm not. I decided that doing daily shows takes a lot of work.
It does.
I would not recommend that. Um, so right now I'm going to break it down to just one a week for now, and,
Okay.
and continue to save those. But to do the daily, that, oh my gosh, that was rough. That was hard work. That was hard. But I appreciate it. Yeah, and thanks for having me. And Gabe, thank you for promoting this on your channel. If you guys don't know Gabe, reach out to Gabe. He puts out a lot of great content, a lot of good hosts. Matt, you would know more about this than me because I just got connected to him. But yeah, thanks for having me on your show. And I certainly appreciate you as a friend and a supporter.
Definitely. And if you're out there, if you're a new dad, if you're about to be a new dad, if you know a new dad, I encourage you to reach out or have them reach out to John, Mr. New Dad himself. And just maybe you need help. Maybe you want to help. Maybe, who knows?
Right.
Reach out. They're building this great community in multiple different places. And I think it's going to be an awesome thing. And I can't wait to see where it grows and what it becomes. So, John, thanks again. You've been fantastic. And for me, as not a dad yet, I'm just taking notes over here. So all these comments are fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Excellent. Well, everyone, John, you stay on the line. Everyone else, have a great day. Thanks for joining. If you're listening to this not live, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to Activate Your Awesome. We're bringing this out. It's one of the reasons I wanted to have John on today, was because you can be awesome in everything that you do, including dadhood. And I think you should focus on being awesome in your dadhood. So be awesome. Be the reason someone has an awesome day. And we'll see you next time.